It's been said that a person can never stand in the same river twice. That a river's unyielding current, its inability to stand still, reminds us that change itself is the only thing that's truly permanent. And as the river changes, so does the world it meanders. And yet, somehow, we never fail to recognize the place we call home.
One reason that I started researching and doing work on our little town, the history of our town, is the fact that so much of our history was destroyed. The town books were all destroyed the first time in 1902. They were in the hardware that burned, and they were destroyed. And then the school records were destroyed in 1953 in the school fire. And the old timers used to tell stories, sit around and tell them. And I'd ask them, well, what's the date? When did that happen? Well, they wouldn't know exactly. They could tell me roughly. So I started doing research because so many of the younger people were curious about the town, who settled there and how it came to be. And I started doing research, and I have to be awful careful because I get carried away in the research. My wife kids me, I'm like a little kid at Christmas time. I'll find something that fits right in with it's like a big jigsaw puzzle.
I've lived in Waterloo since 1963, in May, when I graduated from high school. From what I remember, now this is just off my memory, the town was platted in 1857, but it was not made a town, a incorporated town, until 1882. They had tried several times to get it incorporated as a town, and it failed. So I think it was 1882 that they were finally able to get it incorporated as a town. I wrote about how our town was named. An old timer told me that story, and of course it's not true, but he said every day they'd sit on the old benches in front of the hardware, and this fellow would take this horse, and the horse's name was Lou, take it down to the Elkhorn River to drink, and they'd all holler, and they'd say, "Where are you going?" He'd say, "Down to Waterloo." So they named the town that.
I started in Waterloo fall of 1998. I've been here that long. This community as a whole, and I've worked either in capacity of full or part-time throughout the years in the surrounding communities, and Waterloo is something different than everywhere else. It's more friendlier, I feel. The people are just great in this town. It's a place that I've always wanted to stay working in and plan to be here for a lot longer. Our location close to the city of Omaha, of course the largest city in Nebraska, we deal with a lot more frequency of a crime than we would say maybe a county or so away. Although our frequency of the crimes is less than would be in the city of Omaha. The Todd Hotel shooting, from what I recollect and information I've heard from some of the old timers in town, is there was a party that had gotten a ride on a wagon coming down from the Elk City area, and came into town, and he had walked to the Todd Hotel, which was in the area of 5th and North Front at the time, and had walked in, and I believe they were having a school board meeting, and he opened a fire and had shot some people, and I believe he had shot the school superintendent. And I think he had lost an eye in that at the time. This is way back in the 1800s, and he had left that location and started downtown, and somebody had alerted the village marshal, and I believe it was Marshal Campbell, and he had gotten a shotgun from one of the hardware stores and got into a short gun battle with that suspect, and the suspect had, I believe, he'd been arrested and done some prison time. And the story I had heard is that after he was released from prison, he ended up being friends with the superintendent and kind of forgave him in that. So kind of a strange story, no motive or who knows why he even did what he did. So
our little town, we've had about 5 shootings, and one involved my great-grandfather who shot the man that shot Superintendent Hill. They must have all been pretty bad shots because none of them died.
Well, I've lived here all my life, which is the span of 93 years, so that's quite a while. My memory begins at about 4 years old, so a lot happened before that in this area. Waterloo's a very exciting, the history of Waterloo is a very exciting thing because it's gone through so many evolutions. The first things I remember is my grandfather, J.C. Robinson, pulling me from the large house on Lincoln Avenue to this house in a flood in probably 1928. And it was just it was an ice flood, and it was ankle deep, and he pulled me in a coaster wagon. J.C. Robinson came from upper New York State, where he got tired of trying to sort in the potato patch the rocks from the potatoes, and so that was his joke about coming out here. But he made a very fast success of himself. He died in 1928. He founded the business in 1888. And at that point, my father took over until 1948, and I was 24 years old at that time, and I took over as president of the company and continued that for 58 years.
I think it started with John Logan, who was one of the founders of our town. It was in his home, which is now just off of Main Street, around the corner from the photography studio. And that was the first lending library in town. And I know the Women's Club kept it going for many years.
They would pull the little red wagons, put their books in the wagons and pull them up and down the street, so excuse me, so people could pick a book and read it.
And it's moved around a lot of other places too. I think Linda's worked in a few of them.
In 2006, we moved down here to this library, and
as just symbolism, we pulled little red wagons
yes,
with the
and
books in
kids.
them and moved some of them that way from the old library across the tracks over here to this library.
Our library was donated by Ed and Donna Robinson, and it's such a beautiful library.
Many of the crowning things we had are gone now. But we do have a wonderful library and a wonderful group of people, and the town has grown somewhat.
Publication printing got started in the early 70s. We bought the business as the Douglas County Gazette. A lot of the printing trade has gone to digital, so these are digital presses, and there's two of them. One does bookbinding all in line, and the other one is a smaller version of digital. This is a die-cutting press. And that press is probably 40 years old. Close enough to Omaha that we had a lot of business come out of Omaha. I got to tell you one interesting fact about Waterloo. We would have a client call from maybe Omaha area and say, "Where's Waterloo at?" And I says, "Have you ever been to Farmer Brown's or Albies?" "Oh yeah, I've been there several times." I says, "Well, you were in Waterloo." I guess we grew with the expansion of Omaha, and we were able to. It wasn't that far for somebody to come from Omaha to buy printing from us. And we were more reasonable in our pricing because we were in a small town compared to dealing with Omaha. I've been coming to this corner of 3rd and Washington Street for 59 years to go to work. When we first came here, it had a grocery store, had a gas station, all those things that are now gone. You can't buy a gallon of gas here in town. And that's sad, but that's reality. Well, the Douglas County Fair was a big event for Waterloo for a number of years.
The Douglas County Fair began in 1919. It moved from Omaha to Waterloo, and it also had been in Bennington, Benson, Elkhorn Valley.
The fair, had some really great acts. Don Romeo, who was a booking agent in Omaha, he also booked acts for the Exarban. But he would book these acts that would come in. And the whole fairgrounds would be full of parked cars, the streets would be full of parked cars, and they had some good entertainment.
The Everly Brothers, the Monkees, oh gosh.
Roy Clark.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people that came to the fair, and the old trunks would come up, and then we'd always have to go have a little something to eat and drink. And, you know, I'm going to park by the big cottonwood tree, so see if you can get close.
Yeah.
Gloria Esteban.
Gloria Esteban.
Miami Sound Machine.
Charlie Rich.
But it, you know, it was a big, big event, and I was sure sorry to see it leave Waterloo. But
I think there's just hundreds of entertainers that have gone through Waterloo and entertained at the fair.
it needs a rural setting. All fairs do.
Waterloo is an amazing community to live in. We get the best of kind of both sides. So we live in a small town. We get the benefits of that small town, but at the same time, we're so close to the big city's amenities. There was recent talk about an annexation from the city of Omaha. When that came out, I got on the phone and contacted the mayor of Omaha, and she assured me that after the comment was made, they looked into the facts, and the possibility of annexing Waterloo would not happen anytime in the near future.
We lived in Elkhorn. I went to kindergarten in Elkhorn, and we moved to Waterloo. My mom and dad said that's where we are, and that's where we've been. And so anyway, I lived here 62 years. I tell everybody that I had a stroke. July 25th, 2012, and that's the way that I can't really speak. The thoughts come to me, and I don't say all the words. 2000 to 2012, I was the mayor. Well, the village chairman. I was only 24 years old when I got elected to the town board. First of all, I think I was usually the youngest kid that ran. Mike Cunningham said that you won't make anybody happy because there will always be someone sore at you. The village board had the two immediate choices to do nothing and Waterloo be mapped into the floodplain, and which would force people to mortgages to purchase flood insurance and strict building codes. Or the other choice was we could sign a provisionally credited agreement, which with FEMA, and we would not be in the floodplain for 2 years until we got the levee certified. Actually, that took 5 years too. Our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren would remember our history because we are the history. We are the history of Waterloo.